all day we have been asking our elected officials for their response to these immigration enforcement operations, and you can probably guess where most of them stand depending on their party.
But we also heard more nuanced takes on the situation. Here's Republican Congressman Tim Moore talking about encounters between people and federal agents.
Law enforcement owes a duty to the public to make sure that there's not excessive force, that anything like that. And so I'm going to think and going to believe that our law enforcement, who I certainly support, are going to approach it that way. They're going to try to do it in the least escalated way possible.
So we also heard from Governor Josh Stein, a Democrat, of course. We want to play an exchange between the governor and WRAL reporter Sean Gallagher.
This is a state that has supported the president for 3 straight elections, support his agenda. There's going to be a lot of voters that want to see this happen. I mean, what is your message to the other half of North Carolina who thinks this is operating right?
Yeah. People need to be safe, and we need to do everything we can. And if this were targeted to going after known people who are criminals or known people who are drug traffickers who are engaged in violent crime, that would be a good thing. But they're just sweeping sidewalks, they're sweeping parking lots, they're going into stores and churches. This is causing widespread fear, widespread uncertainty. This is not about public safety, and I wish that it were.
Parts of what Governor Stein just said there really gets to the core of what this story is about.
It does start with the huge amount of people who are in the United States illegally. We are talking about a lot of people. The Committee on Homeland Security estimates that there were about 10.8 million Border Patrol encounters between 2020 and 2024, and they estimate that another 2 million people got away entirely, meaning that agents did not detect their crossings. More than 2 million in those 4 years. And it's not just the illegal border crossings. The Department of Homeland Security reports between 2020 and 2024, 2.1 million people more reached the expiration date on their visas, but they stayed in the U.S. anyways.
And let's not forget, Dan, President Trump has been very clear from the very beginning that he would take action. Let's play a clip from a piece that ran on Inauguration Day back in January.
We're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it.
Is it realistic to deport everyone who's
You have
here
no
illegally?
choice. First of all, they're costing us a fortune. But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Okay, now we are seeing how it goes, as he said. It's all being captured on video.
And some of the most intense videos in North Carolina, anyhow, have come out of Charlotte over the weekend. Perhaps you've seen them. Agents in masks arresting people on the side of the road in some cases. Agents with long guns walking up to landscapers in a neighborhood. Agents pointing a gun at a woman for taking a video from her car. And it's easy to see when you look at those specific videos and the way that they circulate that it would make people afraid, especially if you were someone who is in this country illegally. But we're not just talking about those folks. We're also talking about a lot of legal citizens who we have heard from. Parents keeping their kids home from school just in case, afraid of being profiled.
Yeah, and businesses from restaurants to landscapers are closing and canceling the jobs because their workers don't want to go outside. They don't want to drive to go to work. They're afraid that they will get caught up in the operation and end up in a facility potentially 2 states away. And it's not just the scary videos that are drumming up the fear. The facts and the stories play into it too.
So DHS, they say that they have arrested more than 200 people in Charlotte over the weekend, and they say 44 were in the country illegally and had a criminal record. Like President Trump was just saying, those are the people that they were going after. So far, we've only seen photos and specific charges for 11 of that number. But as for the rest of them, the details or the reasons they were arrested, those still remain unclear. And their crimes, the people who were arrested and charged, they say their crimes range from things like aggravated assault to shoplifting.
DHS has said ICE does not arrest or deport U.S. citizens. Any U.S. citizens arrested because of obstructing or assaulting law enforcement. And we've seen this play out as well. In July, a U.S. citizen sued for $1 million after being detained while recording an immigration raid in Los Angeles.
Another U.S. citizen in L.A. was detained for obstructing arrest. And in Charlotte, 2 U.S. citizens were detained for honking their horns and warning neighbors about Border Patrol in that area. And you might say that that all makes sense. The people who impede law enforcement and their operations are making a big mistake, and that they should not do that, and that they should be held accountable for doing so. Though it does seem like we are navigating a lot of mistakes during these arrests.
DHS says agents arrested 3,300 people during immigration enforcement operations in Chicago. Last week, a federal judge ruled hundreds of them took place without warrants. The judge ordered that 615 of the people detained should be released.
Now, those people they have not been released yet. We're still waiting to see how all of those details play out. We don't know how that story is going to end up. But we do know that it's reasonable to think that mistakes can be made. This happens in law enforcement all the time. It's not an exact science. Sometimes they detain the wrong person, and you can see how someone would want to avoid having to then prove their innocence in a way, or why there at least is fear out there.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes, right? Nobody wants to be the victim of one of those mistakes, and that's why the uncertainty and the fear, that's where it's coming from. People see the videos, they hear the stories, and they think, I don't want that to be me.
So as we said at the beginning of the newscast, we want to hear from you about this topic. And so many of you have already written in to 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. And we know there are a lot of different perspectives on this issue of immigration, how it is enforced, what needs to be done. We want to hear your take on this. We value what you think as viewers of this newscast.
Yeah, please share your stories, share your feedback. Share which parts of the story you want to see mentioned more on the news, or maybe mention it all. Maybe you haven't heard it yet. Send us an email and we'll go through a few of your responses at the end of this newscast. And truly, we do like to look at all of them.